Hey kiddos, we are still reading Among the Hidden. This is actually going to be chapter 3 today. We just reviewed chapter 2. Chapter 2 was where Luke learned that he was a child that was in hiding. Mother explained it to him, and it was kind of a revelation for him when he turned 6 years old. So now we're in chapter 3. Let's go ahead and begin. Luke lay on his stomach on the floor and idly ran the toy train back and forth on the track. The train had belonged to Dad when he was a little boy, and his own father before him. Luke could remember a time when his greatest longing had been for Mart to outgrow the train so Luke could have it all to himself. But it wasn't what he had wanted to play with today. There was a beautiful day unfolding outside, with fleecy clouds and a blue sky and a mild breeze rustling the grass in the backyard. He hadn't left the house in a week now, and he could almost hear the outdoors calling to him. But now he wasn't even allowed in the same room as an uncovered window. "Are you trying to be discovered?" Dad had bellowed at Luke just that morning, when he held the shade a few inches back from the kitchen window and peeked out longingly. Luke jumped. He'd been so busy thinking about running barefoot through the grass that he had forgotten that there was anyone or anything behind him in the house. "No one's out there," he said, glancing again to be sure. He'd been trying not to look beyond the ragged edge of the backyard to the bulldozed mess of branches, trunks, leaves, and mud that had once been his beloved woods. "Yeah," Dad said. "Did it ever occur to you that if there is, they might see you before you see them?" He grabbed Luke by the arm and jerked him back a good 3 feet. Freed from Luke's grasp, the bottom of the shade banged against the windowsill. "You can't look out at all," Dad said. "I mean it. From now on, just stay away from the windows. And don't go into a room unless we've got the shades or curtains pulled." "But then I can't see anything," Luke protested. "Better than to get turned in," Dad said. Dad sounded like he might feel sorry for Luke, but that only made things worse. Luke turned around and left, scared he might cry in front of Dad. Now he gave the toy train a shove, and it careened off the track. It landed upside down, wheel spinning. "Who cares?" Luke muttered. There was a harsh knock on his door. "Population police, open up!" Luke didn't move. "That's not funny, Mark," he shouted. Mark opened the door and bounded up the stairs that led to Luke's room proper. Luke's room was also the attic, a fact he had never minded. Mother long ago had shoved all the trunks and boxes as far as they could go under the eaves, leaving prime space for Luke's brass bed and circular rug and books and toys. Luke had even heard Matthew and Mark grumble about Luke having the biggest room, but they had windows. "Scared you this time, didn't I?" Mark asked. "No," Luke said. Nothing would force him to admit that his heart had jumped. Mark had been playing the population police joke for years, always out of their parents' earshot. Usually Luke had just ignored Mark, but now with Dad acting so skittish, what would Luke have done if it really had been the population police? What would they do to him? "Matt and me, we've never told anyone about you," Mark said, suddenly serious, which was strange for him. "And you know Mother and Dad don't say anything. You're good at hiding. You're safe, you know." "I know," Luke muttered. Mark kicked the toy train. Luke had crashed, still playing with baby toys. He asked, as if to make up for slipping and being nice. Luke shrugged. Luke shrugged. Normally, he wouldn't have wanted Mark to know he played with the train anymore, but today, everything else was so bad that it didn't matter. "Did you come up here just to bug me?" Luke asked. Mark put on an offended look. "Thought you might want to play checkers," he said. Luke squinted. "Mother told you, right?" he asked. "No," said Mark. "You're lying," Luke said, not caring how nasty he sounded. "What if you're going to be that way?" Mark said. "Just leave me alone, okay?" Luke said. Okay. Mark backed down the stairs. Geez. Alone again, Luke felt a little sorry he'd been so mean. Maybe Mark had told the truth. Luke should apologize, but he didn't really feel like it. Luke got up and started pacing his room. The squeak of the third board in from the stairs annoyed him. He hated having to duck under the rafters on the far side of his bed. Even his favorite model cars lined up on the shelves in the corner bothered him today. Why should he have model cars? He never even sat in a real one. He never would. He never get to do anything or go anywhere. He might as well just rot up here in the attic. He thought about that before on the rare occasions when Mother, Dad, Matthew, and Mark all went somewhere and left him behind. What if something happened to them and they never come back? Would someone find him would someone find him years from now, abandoned and dead? He read a story in one of the old books in the attic about a bunch of kids finding a deserted pirate ship and then a skeleton in one of the rooms. He'd be like that skeleton. And now that he wasn't allowed in rooms with uncovered windows, he'd be a skeleton in the dark. Luke looked up automatically as to remind himself that nothing lit the rafters with a single bulb over his head, except there was a light at either end of the ceiling, leaking in from the peak of the roof. Luke stood up and went to investigate. Of course he should have remembered. There were vents at each end of the roof. Dad grumbled occasionally about heating the attic for Luke. It's just like throwing money out those vents, but Mother always fixed him with one of her stairs, and nothing changed. Now Luke climbed on top of one of the largest trunks and looked down through the vent. He could see out. He could see a strip of the road and the cornfield beyond, its leaves waving in the breeze. The vent slanted down and limited his view, but at least he was sure nobody would ever be able to see him. For a moment, Luke was excited, but that quickly faded. He didn't want to spend the rest of his life watching the corn grow. Without much hope, he stepped down from the trunk and went to the other end of the attic, the portion that faced the backyard. He had to slide boxes around and drag an old step stool from the opposite end of the attic, but finally his eyes were level with the back vent. The view was not of the backyard. It was too close, but of the former woods. He never realized it before, but the land there sloped away from the family's house, so he had a clear view of acres and acres that once had been covered with trees. The land was abuzz with activity now. Huge yellow bulldozers shoved brush back from a rough road that had been traced out with gravel. Other vehicles Luke couldn't identify were digging holes for huge concrete pipes. Luke watched in fascination. He knew tractors and combines, of course, had seen his dad's bush hog and manure spreader and gravity wagons up close in the barn. But these machines were different, designed for different jobs, and they were all operated by different people. Once when Luke was younger, a tramp had walked to the house, and Luke had only time to hide under the sink in the mudroom before the man was in the house, begging for food. The door of the cabinet was cracked, so Luke had been able to peek out and see the man's patched trousers and holey shoes. He heard his whiny voice. "I ain't got no job, and I ain't ate in 3 days. No, I can't do no farm work for my food. What do you think I am? I'm sick, I'm starving." Other than that tramp and pictures and books, Luke had never seen another human being besides his parents and Matthew and Mark. He never dreamed there was such variety. Many of the people running the bulldozers and shovel contraptions were stripped of their shirts, while others standing nearby even wore ties and coats. Some were fat and some were thin, some were brown by the sun, and some were paler than Luke himself, who would never be tan again. They were all moving, shifting gears, and lowering pipe, waving others into position, or at the very least, talking at full speed. All the activity made Luke dizzy. The pictures and books always showed people still. Overwhelmed, Luke closed his eyes, then opened them again for fear of missing something. "Luke!" Reluctantly, Luke slid down from his step stool perch and scrambled over to recline innocently on his bed. "Come in," he called to his mother. She climbed the stairs heavily. "You okay?" Luke dangled his feet over the side of the bed. "Sure, I'm fine." Mother sat on the bed beside him and patted his leg. She swallowed hard. "It's not easy living the life you've got to live. I know you like to look outside. You like to go outside." "That's okay, Mother," Luke said. He could have told her then about the vents. He didn't see how anyone could object to him looking out there. But something stopped him. What if they took that away from him too? What if Mother told Dad, and Dad said, No, that's too much of a risk, I forbid it." Luke wouldn't be able to stand it. He kept silent. Mother ruffled his hair. "You're a trooper," she said. "I know you'll hold up all right." Luke leaned against his mother's arm. She moved her arm around his shoulders and hugged him tight to her side. He felt a little guilty for keeping a secret, but mostly reassured, loved and reassured. Then more to herself than to him, Mother added, "And things could be worse." Somehow, that wasn't comforting. Luke didn't know why, but he had a feeling what she really meant was that things were going to get worse. He snuggled tighter against Mother, hoping he was wrong. Chapter 3, all finished.